Cross, you never make hunter builds. Well, today we're finally making one. Now, this is actually an old build from Season the Haunted, essentially our infinite throwing knife build. However, things have changed in Lightfall, resulting in this build only getting better this season. On top of that, considering we have surges pretty much everywhere in a solar surge environment, this build absolutely pops off. Now, to get you started, we'll be rocking the Gunslinger subclass, as well as the Blade Barrage super. Now, Blade Barrage did get a nerf a few seasons ago, but it's still a solid super. Matter of fact, when we did super versus super damage tests, I was so impressed with the damage that Blade Barrage was still putting out. And you can see its damage numbers in comparison to other supers. It's quite impressive. And considering its fast cooldown, its ability to take out champions and a large group of ads, this is a no-brainer. Next, we'll be running Gambler's Dodge, which will refund our melee ability energy fully when using our class ability while nearby enemies. Now, this whole build features completely around our melee ability Knife Trick, which we're able to have up nearly 100% of the time, as everything in this build really contributes to us getting our knife back. Now, rounding things off, we'll be using the healing grenades for survivability. Now, back in Season the Haunted, we had classy restoration. Now, we really only have a healing grenade on Hunter. Now, for our aspects, we'll be using Knock 'em Down and On Your Mark. Knock 'em Down is going to enhance all of our solar supers, and it also has the extra benefit that while radiant, final blows with our throwing knife will fully refund our melee energy. It's beautiful. Then we also have On Your Mark, which grants us and nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration after landing a precision final blow. Now, we're mainly using On Your Mark for the extra 3 fragment slots that it gives us for a total of 5. And for our fragments, we're going to be using Ember of Torches, which will make us radiant when hitting enemies with our powered melee attack, which does not need to be a final blow. It only needs to hit the enemy. Now, Ember of Empyrean will allow us to increase the amount of time radiant and restoration effects applied to us last. Ember of Blistering will grant us grenade energy after defeating targets with solar ignitions. You also have Ember of Searing, which grants us melee energy and creates fire sprites upon defeating a scorched target. And lastly, we have Ember of Ashes, which allows us to apply more scorch stacks to targets. Now for our exotic armor piece. Just like in our previous build, we were taking advantage of the exotic Ophidia Spathe. This comes with the exotic perk Scissor Fingers, which grants us 2 knives per charge. Now, the description here is vague, and it functions a little bit differently than other similar exotics that also grant 2 abilities. You see, while using Ophidia Spathe, whenever you regen your melee charge, it will actually grant you 2 charges instead of just 1. Like when you look at Claws of Hamkara, Armentarium, you have to wait for both of those abilities to come back. So whether you're utilizing Gambler's Dodge or just waiting for your melee ability to passively recharge, you get both of those abilities back. Now, this feature plus everything else working together in this build will ensure that we have a melee ability recharged nearly 100% of the time for that crazy endless loop of infinite knives. Now, for our exotic weapons, previously we used Skyburner's Oath, which is still a great option as it scorches targets, but we have so many more exotics now available that synergize with Solar 3.0, such as Prometheus Lens, which now after sustained damage also applies Scorch to the target. I feel like we've already made a lot of builds with Prometheus Lens already, but it is really good, guys. Incandescent adds its catalyst, its auto reload feature when landing kills, the spread of Scorch. Again, you're not required to really run any exotic weapon. You have options though, whether it's Sunshot, Polaris Lance, hell, even a lot of other legendary options that are really good that have Incandescent, Catalyst Mini Tool, Drain, Amit, which by the way, Amit is a fantastic auto rifle, BXR, Judgment of Kel'Grath, Acacia's Dejection. Honestly though, guys, it doesn't even matter because everything about this build is about your neutral abilities. Now let's get into armor mods. In our helmet for mods, we'll be utilizing 2 copies of Hands On, which will allow us to gain bonus super energy on melee kills. And with Blade Barrage being the fastest cooldown Solar Hunter super, you're gonna get your super back so fast, guys. We also have 1 copy of Harmonic Siphon, which will allow us to gain orbs on solo weapon final blows. Now on our arms, we're utilizing Heavy Handed. This will create an orb of power from melee final blows. Next, we have Melee Kickstart, which will give us melee energy back when our melee energy is fully expended. Again, not something you're gonna utilize that much, but if you're sitting there waiting on your abilities to come back, this can really help you. Now, additionally though, our armor charge will be consumed and we'll gain an additional melee energy for each stack. We'll also be adding Grenade Kickstarts to refund our healing grenade, which is very important to have available as often as possible. Now on our chest, we're gonna be rocking 2 charge up mods, which will increase the maximum number of stacks of armor charge that we're gonna be carrying by 2. On our legs, we have Better Already to begin health regeneration when picking up an orb, Invigoration, which reduces our melee cooldown each time we pick up an orb of power, and then stacks on stacks, so that we grant ourselves 1 additional stack of armor charge each time we pick up an orb of power. Now lastly, for our class item, we also have 2 bomber mods reducing our grenade cooldown when using our class ability. We also have 1-2 finisher. This restores our melee ability when performing finishers and will consume 3 or more stacks of armor charge, granting additional energy for each charge consumed. For our artifact mods, all you need is authorized solar and grenade mods to reduce the cost of some mod slots, and then solar surge so that you can receive armor charge when you collect a fire sprite. Now it's time to talk about fire sprites and Ember of Mercy. Originally, we wanted to use Ember of Mercy with this build to constantly give us more restoration. This would pair with Ember of Searing and Empyrean for the ultimate hunter survivability trio. But Ember of Mercy in its current state actually sabotages restoration builds. When using Ember of Empyrean, you can chain solar kills together and increase your restoration and radiant timer over 10 seconds. Ember of Mercy is supposed to give you restoration when you pick up a fire sprite, but what it actually does is resets your restoration to 2 seconds. So if you have restoration already, it instantly gets almost completely taken away. And if you're not prepared to get another kill to keep the chain going, you will lose it, usually leading to your death. Now we need Ember of Mercy to be reworked, because as it stands, you cannot use it to build into restoration, the very thing it's supposed to improve. This is why a healing grenade is so important for this build. It grants 5 seconds of restoration, and if you pop before you near the beginning of an engagement, you will instantly have your health regeneration. And it's very easy to begin the restoration chain with. Now this does require us to build into grenades a bit using grenade kickstart, bomber mods, and Ember of Blistering ignitions, not just our melees. But once Ember of Mercy is fixed, this really won't be necessary. So how does this all work? Well, it starts with Ophidia Spathe, guys. It grants us 2 knife charges, and just hitting a target with our knife will make us and nearby allies radiant due to Ember of Torches. Now while using Knife Trick, each knife does 20 scorch stacks. So the 3 knives will apply 60 scorch stacks. Now since we're also using Ember of Ashes, this is going to increase our scorch stacks to 30 each, meaning if we hit all 3 knives from Knife Trick on a single target, it will apply 90 scorch stacks to the target. Now we do need to get 100 scorch stacks in order to cause an ignition, which leaves us with a couple options. We can simply throw another knife, which will give us another 90 scorch stacks, which is more than enough to cause an ignition. Alternatively though, we can shoot things like Skyburners Oath to top off our stacks. Skyburners with Ember of Ashes does 5 scorch stacks per shot, so literally just shoot 3 of them, boom, you're good. Even with scorch fading over time, this will cause the ignition. And we tested this a few times, 2 shots, even though it makes sense, 90 scorch stacks plus 10, that should be 100, but understand scorch fades. So 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to hit 3 shots from Skyburner's Oath in order to get that ignition. Now, if you wanna lead up with your shots, you can do that too. You can actually land 3 Skyburner shots and then throw your knife, and this will cause an ignition. And keep in mind, guys, at the start of Season 20, solar ignitions can be used to stun unstoppable champions. And on top of that, if our Knife Trick finishes off the target, we get our melee energy refunded due to being radiant and our knock them down aspect. Granted, for the most part, if you're facing red bar enemies, just use your knives, guys. It'll get the kill really easily. But facing any beefier targets like majors and champions, you do want to prime them. Skyburners is an excellent way to do that. We also have unstoppable champions this season. Skyburner also is very, very good at countering Cabal. I feel like this build video is starting to turn into a Skyburners review, but yes, Skyburners is really good here. Now continuing, if you don't end up securing the kill with your knife, you do of course have your second charge available. And then you can use Gambler's Dodge near a target to instantly refund both of your melee charges and essentially just keep repeating the process. Now I know sometimes you're not close enough to the enemy in order to proc Gambler's Dodge. You should be, but granted, things happen. Maybe a blueberry shot that enemy as you're going for the dodge. But considering you have so many different mods here, you're gonna get your melee back very quickly. So as you can see, there's a ton of synergy with this build. The only thing we're missing is Ember of Mercy to work for restoration focused builds. That would perfect this build. Ultimately for now, you want to use your healing grenade, shoot 3 shots of Skyburners to get your scorch stacks, throw your knife, proc radiant to cause ignitions, refunding more of your healing grenade, and then throw your knife again. You can then create an overpower with your power melee final blows and scorch targets with your weapons to generate your melee when needed. Now keep in mind, guys, if you're looking to amplify this damage, then look in your vault and find a shotgun with 1-2 punch. You've got things like the Ragnar Hill shotgun. I think Wastelander, you can get it with 1-2 punch. Deicide, a number of different options though, but keep in mind, guys, 1-2 punch increases melee damage after hitting a target with every pellet of your shotgun shot. Now the beautiful thing about a craftable weapon, guys, is you can get enhanced 1-2 punch. So instead of landing 12 of the pellets, you only need to land 10. So some more forgiveness there. And I actually have this Ragnar Hill with 1-2 punch as well as auto loading holster. Really, really good, guys. And this amplifies your melee damage even more. So give this build a go. It's gotten even better in this sandbox. And with all the synergy with our subclasses now, with some anti-champion capabilities, whether it's applying radiance to your weapons for barrier champions or ignitions for unstoppable champions, all around the board, guys, this is a very solid one. But fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.